Did you read Proverbs 30 verse 4 today? It reads, "Who has ascended into heaven or descended? Who has gathered the wind in his fists? Who has bound the waters in a garment? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name, and what is his son's name, if you know?"
It's a striking passage. To me, it emphasizes God's unmatched power over creation, controlling wind, water, even the cosmos. It almost reads like a cosmic boast, none but God can do this.
I agree that it highlights divine sovereignty. But then there's that final line. What is his son's name? Do you think that suggests God actually has a son?
That's where interpretations diverge. In Jewish tradition, some read his son more metaphorically, perhaps referring to wisdom or to an agent of God, not a literal offspring.
Right. Wisdom is personified in Proverbs 8 as a craftsman, who was with God in the beginning, taking part and rejoicing in creation. So maybe son equals wisdom, the divine counselor through whom all things were made.
That makes sense. On the other hand, Christian readers often see it as foreshadowing the Messiah, the Son of God, prefiguring the Messiah's role in creation and redemption. By the way, I also remember you telling me that there are characters in the Hebrew Bible who share God's identity but are distinct from God.
I'm glad you remember. There are indeed several biblical figures who align with what you're describing. One of them is the angel of the Lord, who appeared to Moses in Exodus 3. This figure spoke from the burning bush and declared, "I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Though identified as an angel, he claimed divine identity. Another is the mysterious figure seen by Daniel, one like the Son of Man, who appears before the Ancient of Days, God, in Daniel 7 verses 13 to 14. This figure is given everlasting dominion, glory, and worship, honors reserved for God alone. Though distinct from God, he shares in his authority and is worshipped. Yet another example is Jacob, who wrestled with a mysterious man later revealed to be God himself. Hosea 12 identifies this figure as Yahweh, even though he appeared in the form of an angel.
Yes, I find these mysterious figures both intriguing and perplexing.
If we take it messianically, the questions, who has ascended, descended, echo New Testament themes, the Messiah's descent to earth and ascension to heaven, so the verse could be pointing toward Jesus.
However, a significant challenge is that Jewish people traditionally believe that God does not have a son.
Among the many profound verses in the Hebrew Bible, one in particular carries significant meaning, yet is frequently overlooked, Isaiah 9 verse 5. It speaks of a son given to us, upon whose shoulders authority will rest, and who is called by exalted titles associated with God. Many classical Jewish commentators, including Rambam, Maimonides, interpret this verse as referring to the Messiah.
That leads me to ask, how can the son described in Isaiah 9 verse 5 be connected to the son mentioned in Proverbs 30 verse 4?
Both Isaiah 9 verse 5 and Proverbs 30 verse 4 refer to a son, in strikingly elevated terms, far beyond ordinary human descriptions. While each verse emerges from distinct literary and prophetic contexts, a comparative reading reveals a conceptual link that may hint at a shared messianic archetype within the Hebrew Bible.
Most ancient sages understood that the Messiah was a human endowed with divine mission and wisdom, but not divine essence.
Isaiah 9 verse 5, "For a child is born to us, a son is given to us, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." The Son's names convey divine attributes of authority, wisdom, and eternal peace, implying God's power expressed through a chosen human. Proverbs 30 verse 4. "Who has ascended to heaven and come down? What is his name, and what is his son's name, if you know?" The rhetorical question highlights mystery, power, and divine knowledge, and then ends by asking, what is his son's name? This final question has provoked curiosity among commentators, as it implies that someone, the Son, is closely associated with divine wisdom or authority.
I believe Proverbs 30 verse 4 points to God as the one being described. Isaiah 9 verse 5 makes it clear that God himself gives the Son.
Correct. You've recognized what is clearly conveyed in the text. However, in both passages, the reference to the Son is not presented in a straightforward genealogical or national context, but rather is framed in poetic ambiguity and elevated language, suggesting something far greater than an ordinary child or merely a symbolic figure.
By the way, I don't think anyone has seen the physical wonders that God did in Proverbs 30 verse 4.
The physical wonders described in Proverbs 30 verse 4, such as ascending to heaven and descending, gathering the wind, wrapping the waters, and establishing the ends of the earth, are expressions of divine majesty and power. They are portrayed as acts beyond human ability or observation, reinforcing God's transcendence. Who has gone up to heaven and come down? Has anyone seen this? No human had witnessed this before Jesus. In the Hebrew Bible, even figures like Moses or Elijah experienced glimpses of God's glory, but no one had fully seen God ascend or descend as Proverbs 30 describes. Jesus claims to have done this in John 3 verse 13. No one has ascended to heaven but he who came down from heaven, that is, the Son of Man who is in heaven. His disciples witnessed the ascension in Acts 1 verse 9, seeing him taken into heaven, marking a unique fulfillment in visible history. Who has gathered the wind in his fists? Has anyone seen this? This is a poetic metaphor for absolute control over nature. Humans can feel the wind but cannot contain or command it. In the Gospels, Jesus calms storms and commands the wind, Mark 4 verse 39, and his disciples witnessed this firsthand, responding in awe. Who is this? Echoing Proverbs 30 verse 4. So, yes, Jesus' disciples saw this kind of divine control over wind and weather. Who has bound the waters in a garment? Has anyone seen this? Again, this is a poetic image for divine control over the seas and rain. In Scripture, people witnessed Jesus walking on water, Matthew 14 verse 25, and turning water into wine, John chapter 2. Demonstrations of power over water. So yes, in Jesus' ministry, people witnessed acts that symbolically and literally fulfill this imagery.
But the last question is, who has established all the ends of the earth? Has anyone seen this?
No human saw the act of creation itself. God asks Job, "Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation?" Job 38 verse 4. But in John 1 verse 3 and Colossians 1 verse 16, Jesus is revealed as the agent of creation, and his identity is made known. So while the act itself wasn't seen, the person who accomplished it, the Messiah, was seen and known.
Yes, I can't deny that Jesus fulfilled all the wonderful acts of Proverbs 30 verse 4, which only God can do. But I still cannot take this verse as a proof text that Jesus is the Son of God.
Proverbs 30 verse 4 can be used as part of a cumulative case for identifying Jesus as the Son of God, but not as a standalone proof text. God reveals truth progressively, not all at once. What begins as a mystery in the Hebrew Bible, in this case of Proverbs 30 verse 4, which is poetic, indirect, and wrapped in a prophetic riddle, becomes clearer in the New Testament when Jesus is revealed.
Are you saying that other texts identify Jesus as the Son of God?
Absolutely. Again, the revelation of the Messiah in the Hebrew Bible was gradual, prophetic, and symbolic. God promises David that his offspring will rule, and that God will have a father-son relationship with this royal heir. In the Coronation Psalm 2 verses 6 to 7, God says to the Davidic king, "You are my son, today I have begotten you." Many modern and ancient commentators, including Rambam, understand that the son refers to the King Messiah.
Then I have to ask you, how can you be sure that Jesus is the Son of God prophesied in Psalm chapter 2?
That's a vital and deeply thoughtful question. Like millions of others, I'm convinced that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. But this conviction began with the disciples themselves. Their certainty came through a powerful combination of fulfilled scripture, compelling evidence, and profound personal transformation. After his resurrection, Jesus appeared to the disciples, showed them his wounds, and even ate with them to prove he was not a ghost. Luke 24 verses 36 to 43. He also appeared to many individuals and groups, offering many convincing proofs that he was truly alive. His bodily resurrection was a decisive sign of divine vindication. Had Jesus remained in the grave, the movement would likely have ended. But the resurrection confirmed that he was exactly who he claimed to be, the Son of God.
Aside from Jesus himself, who else proclaimed him as the Son of God?
God the Father explicitly declares Jesus to be his Son at least 4 key times. These are pivotal moments in Jesus' life and ministry where his divine identity is clearly affirmed. At his baptism, a voice from heaven declared, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased." Matthew 3 verse 17, Mark 1 verse 11, Luke 3 verse 22. This marked the beginning of Jesus' public ministry. At the Transfiguration, once again, a heavenly voice confirmed his identity. "This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." Matthew 17 verse 5, Mark 9 verse 7, Luke 9 verse 35. This occurred in the presence of Peter, James, and John. Before the crucifixion, John 12, Jesus prayed, "Father, glorify your name." Then a voice from heaven responded, "I have both glorified it and will glorify it again." John 12 verse 28. Though the word Son isn't used here, the voice affirms the divine mission and identity of Jesus shortly before his death. Through the resurrection, though not an audible voice, the resurrection itself is presented as a divine declaration. Jesus was declared to be the Son of God with power, according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead. Romans 1 verse 4. Only God has the power to raise the dead. The resurrection was God's powerful confirmation that Jesus truly is his Son.
I now see clearly that God has a Son, a truth that was foretold through the Hebrew Scriptures. The coming of Jesus and the fulfillment of those ancient prophecies have brought this reality into sharp focus. As Isaiah 9 verse 5 declares, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given." Truly, this is a profound blessing to us all.
This message is echoed in John 3 verse 16, where Jesus himself says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life."
Millions around the world have found hope, peace, and purpose by believing that God gave his Son, Jesus, so that we might have everlasting life. We invite you to ask the God of Israel to reveal this truth to your heart. If you're seeking or have questions about your faith journey, we're here to support you. Feel free to contact us at info@lifeinmessiah.ca